course, not do anything. Sorry, I'm lost without the script, so it's going to be a second.
Maybe. Maybe tonight.
It's too late. We'll just wing it.
Jeez, please.
Is everyone ready?
Nope.
Should I go get myself some coffee?
Thank you. We can do that. All right. Yeah, we are going to be a moment here, so. Good evening. We'll call the City of Lincoln City Council meeting to order at 6:15, Monday, April 24th. If you wish to speak on an agenda or non-agenda item, please sign up on the sheet near the entrance door to the council chambers. You'll be called to speak during the public comment section. Comments or testimony on agenda items listed under public hearing, public comment will be taken at that time. Roll call, please.
Mayor Williams?
Here.
That we know the capital costs, but we're looking for the cost of running it and then the necessary revenue to keep it going. And then what vehicles are available to do that. So a sanitary district, an LID, a sanitary authority. It sounds like there's several different vehicles for that. And we're looking to hire a consultant, I guess for lack of a better term, to do that. Mitch Moore has a consultant that he talked to named Converge Communications that said that they do work like that. And then Irv Potter from Benaiah Brithcamp has a company called Cardo that actually just did a similar project for a similar sewer project for, I can't remember who now. Anyhow, they just finished doing that, and so they said they absolutely do this scope of work. It sounds like the amount of $20,000 keeps getting thrown around, and the idea is to have several stakeholders contribute to that. So the stakeholders that I jotted down that were mentioned were City of Lincoln City, DLWID, Devils Lake Neighborhood Association, the Tribe, Regional Solutions, which I believe is a state agency, and then Benaiah Brith said they would actually be interested in contributing as well. So I think that the more people that we have contributing, it just increases the communication and stakeholders for moving forward with the information that we get. Brian is wanted to make sure that everybody knew that he is going to have a written report prepared to give to the board in April. He will not be here. He's actually leaving town, won't be back until the middle of March. But I'm going to put together a kind of a white paper to give to these two companies, Converge and, Cardo, to kind of give them a framework so they're both looking at the same information of what we're looking for back from them, and then give them the pieces of information on our website, which has an abundance of information, which some of the links are not working, so I talked to Josh about that, and Jimmy, all I can think of is Jimmy Rigged. Our website guy, he is slowly going through and reattaching all those documents to the website. Dewey, thank you. So the PACE engineering report, which is actually called the Devil's Lake Sewer System Pre-Design Report, which we refer to as a PACE report. And Mitch, I don't know if you guys recall, several months ago, Mitch developed like a task list of, so with those three things and then an explanation of what it is we're looking for, we think that will move us down, and then hopefully by the April meeting, we'll have information back from those two companies. The question that I do have is if we can do a direct hire or if we have to send out an RFP. Mitch brought up the option of the Devil's Lake Neighborhood Association actually taking this on, if other people would contribute it to it, so that we didn't have to do an RFP if we liked one of these companies. So I'm not sure that that's a good idea or not, but that is something that was thrown out. So that I think is in a nutshell. I'm scrolling through my notes here.
And this really, for background, is really where the board believes that, I'll summarize a little bit. The board believes that in the best interest of limiting nutrients in the lake, that if there was a sewer system around the lake, it would be beneficial for the long run for limiting those nutrients. And so really what the board has done is created a sewer committee in order to look at the potential for and the viability of actually doing that, the financial viability. And so that's where we're headed on this.
And we discussed that of where does the sewer committees, and I think that we honestly need to do a better job of defining what it is that the sewer committee is committing to, and then how does that relate to what this board is committing to, and when do we say, okay, we have accomplished our goal and hand it off to, and that's why I like the idea of having a pro forma back from somebody that says, here's the vehicles you can use. Now, whether it's this committee that chooses that vehicle or the sewer committee or maybe even a bigger committee than that, I don't have a problem with that. What my concern has been for the past couple of years, quite honestly, is that taking on a sewer project around the lake is more than I think any of us want to take on, and or our one paid staff person.
In addition, in my view, it's not our charge.
Well, absolutely. So, I mean, there was a whole ball of concern I had there. So I think we had a good discussion today in the sewer committee that everybody seems to be on the same page. Brian did say that he is committed to staying on the sewer committee for as long as it takes to get this to a final destination where the people say yay or nay. And so I thought that was great, because he's like, you know, maybe it'll take 10 years. I don't know, but I'm willing to make that commitment. So that was great. So yeah, the tasks that I have are trying to get the website up and running so that the links and stuff that we put in this white paper, and then I'm going to send the page that I put together out to the sewer committee, and then I'll send it to the other board members as well to get input on, you know, are we heading down the right road here? So I just wanted to get something done, because we've been doing a lot of talking.
And I thought I'd go ahead and, Josh, the reason why he's not here is at the SDAO conference, and one of the the programs that they had on the agenda today was writing grants, and a big part of his job for us is writing grants, and so he's attending that for the next 3 or 4 days. And so I'll give him a call tomorrow and have him get in touch with you.
Great.
And so then then he might be able to corner George, and then talk to him about whether we need to do an RFP or how we should go
Okay,
about
great.
doing that. So I think, I'm sure George is there at the conference this weekend.
And then the last thing is that Brian made a commitment before the next meeting to contact Special Districts Office, SDAO, and get the contacts of other sewer districts that have done this, have been down this road, and how did you guys do it, and who helped you? So I think for sure by our April meeting, we will have some great information to bring back.
Great, thanks, Tina.
Yep.
Next, our Special Projects and Events and Communications Committee. Their next meeting is March 8th at 3:30 prior to this meeting. So what we've done is to make it more convenient for all the committees to meet the same day that we are having our regular board meeting. And so committees are meeting at either 3:30 or 4 o'clock prior to the meeting. It makes it easier for everybody involved if they want to attend. So that is their next meeting. So there's no update at this time. Next, we have our Save Our Shoreline Water Quality Monitoring Committee. Mary Ellen Rich is the chairman of that committee. Thanks, Mary Ellen.
All right, we met at 3:30 at the college today. We recapped the workshop that was on January 25th with Dr. Mark Sitzma from Portland State. We talked about the May seminar with Scott Wells, who is doing a modeling class that Josh may, he's planning on attending, we hope, to learn about this modeling of planting around a body of water. We talked about spring projects. We've set the date of April 21st for a lake planting day, and I'm going to contact Josh and see about getting some reeds. We may just concentrate on a couple plants that we can do little blotches of them in different sites around the lake, and just try to get some plants going, submerged planting going. We didn't really discuss, but we will be doing the usual annual week before Memorial Day to the week before Labor Day water testing, water quality testing. And but just put on your calendars April 21st for the lake planting. And that's about it.
One of the things I would like to say, our planting workshop that we had on January 25th, I thought, even though there wasn't a lot of us there were 3 board members, and then yourself and your husband and Josh. And one of the neat things that I brought back from that was Dr. Mark Sitzma, who came and gave a presentation, is that he was very encouraged by what we're doing here. He thinks the aeration project is right up where we should be going, how we're approaching revegetating the lake too. He was very encouraging. He actually even thought that the sea lion that has been in our lake and eating some of the grass carp was a good thing, because all the other coastal lakes that are in the similar situation that we have here in Oregon, those that have placed grass carp in their lakes, they're in the process of netting them and trying to get them out.
Oh, wow.
So even though ours are the oldest, and I think 3 or 4 years ago they did a study where there was somewhere between 400 and 700 of the oldest grass carp in the United States left in our lake. We still haven't seen a resurgence of vegetation. So his recommendation was that, hey, this actually is a good thing, but we need to be prepared ahead of time that things could change rapidly. We could get a increase in vegetative growth that would be more than our desired level of about 20%.
We need to be
very
ready.
quickly, and so we need to be proactive on which ways that we can take care of this in case that it happens, or if and when it happens.
Do you have ideas on how to get at that 20%?
Well, it's a balancing act.
Right.
It certainly is, and he thought the things that we're doing right now are going to be heading in that direction, and so he was encouraged by the things that we're doing, but he also was making sure that we're thinking ahead to a time when it could grow, and we be back in a situation that we were in the 60s and 70s, and we need to be thinking about how we're going to take care of that. And in our discussion, we talked about some mechanical harvesting. He was encouraging us to look at herbicides, which has been, he thinks, are very safe and has been used effectively in the past, as long
In
as
controlled areas.
as long as it's a coordinated effort by the district and not individual efforts by individual landowners. And so I took away from that a very encouraging
Other
message.
lakes have been successful, though, at obtaining that 20%
He said, it's, again, we're in a balancing act, and anything that we do, he didn't say anybody's at that level yet that I recall.
That's
Do you,
just the
Mary
goal
Ellen?
to
It's just
get
that it's a goal. He said between 20 and 50%. We're looking at more 20 because we're balancing. He understands we're balancing the recreational aspect of what our lake means to this community, as well as the health.
And we have a lot of homes around the lake.
Right. So it was a very good.
It was a real good workshop. Mark's very informative, and that workshop that his co-professor Scott is going to put on should give us some information too.
Right.
That would be good.
Yeah,
Josh.
do some modeling so that we can take a look at some possibilities of if we do certain things, how will that affect our lake?
Yeah, before we do it, get a model of what's going to happen along the way.
It may not be perfect, but it's at least it gives us some idea instead of just saying, oh, I think we should do this and then guess. And so I was very encouraged by it.
Informed.
Very much
Right.
so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Mary Ellen. All right. Next, since Josh isn't here, I'll talk a little bit about the progress of our projects and operations. Currently, the Devil's Lake aeration project. Lincoln County has approved our placement of the shoreline air compressor equipment for our aeration system. Currently, we're awaiting regulatory approval from DSL, Army Corps of Engineers, and ODFW on our permit, so the permit is in. Grants and updates, some encouraging news there. I know Josh talked about last time that we were awarded a $4,000 matching grant from the SDAO to cover video monitoring equipment, and so Josh is looking at some different options for that. Secondly, we did hear back from Lincoln County, and we were not approved for our grant that we put in there for our aeration equipment, but an encouraging information was that the Sluts tribe granted us $10,000 award toward installation of our whole lake aeration equipment, and Josh and Kathy attended that award ceremony. Was it last week ago Friday? Yeah, or last Friday. That was last Friday. So
Thanks for going to that, Kathy.
yeah.
I was really impressed with it, and I was amazed at how much money they gave out over the entire state almost. And I really encourage any organization to apply for grants, you know, that it was amazing how much money that they gave out that night.
Wow.
Well, it's neat that the Siletz Tribe Charitable Contribution Fund is willing to give back to the community from all the resources they have, and we have been the beneficiary of now 2 grants for them, one for our water quality monitoring equipment that we got last year, as well as now $10,000 toward our aeration. So
yeah, that's outstanding. Is there any kind of a letter of recognition or anything that we can do to replicate towards
I
them,
think-
or is it just
I know that for the last
continued?
The last time, Josh wrote him a nice letter in return, and I'll encourage him to do that, or we should, as a board, encourage him to do that.
Yeah, it'd be nice
Thanks.
if we could all sign a card or something.
Perfect. Thanks, Bill. New business. Josh and Miles Schlesinger gave a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation to the Lincoln City Council on the 22nd of January regarding the removal of the Regatta Park deed restriction. Josh and Miles represented the district very well, and with the result of that, Lincoln City Council directed its staff to further pursue the removal of the deed restriction. As a side note, I actually heard Josh and Miles, mainly Miles, on the radio in giving that presentation to the City Council, and so that was neat to hear that, hey, they highlighted what they were willing to present. So that was great. Next, a little update on Devil's Lake Water Improvement District has been in contact with Ducks Unlimited. That was stated in the last meeting. We had a phone conference of about an hour and 20 minutes, and during that phone conference, Ducks Unlimited had indicated that they planned on making a trip out here to take a look at the lake and see how they can help us and partner with revegetation of the lake. To date, that meeting hasn't taken place, but the hope is that that will happen by the time the next meeting comes about. So that's in the offing. Next, as a board, we need to approve a budget officer and budget calendar. And I think you have that in the back of your packets. If you look at the budget calendar, it pretty much outlines what we've done in the past. And as I scanned it prior to this meeting, it looks like it will go ahead and meet with the expectation of approving a budget prior to our the end of June, so that we can do that. With that, we need to appoint a budget officer, and who better would be than a person that's not here? Josh.
Second.
And so, would anyone move to appoint Josh as the budget officer for the 2018-2019 budget calendar?
I so move.
Do I hear a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Josh is our new budget officer.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you. And I know that this year's budget development's going to be a little different because we have changed the way we do things a little bit over the course of the year. So I know that Steve and Teresa and Josh have already met. They met on Monday or Tuesday? Tuesday. Maybe it was Wednesday, because he dropped these off to me yesterday. So they must have met yesterday. And so they're in the process of putting that document together for us. And I think it'll change a little bit from previous years, but as we go through this process, it just gets better and better. So look forward to that. Excuse me. Next, we have a discussion with regard to the Lake Stewart Award.
I received a nomination letter for Bud DLWID from Sandpoint. I think everybody knows who Bud is.
You want to tell?
I can read the letter.
Yeah. And okay,
I think I can read the letter. It's really small.
I know.
Dear Devils Lake Water Improvement District Board of Directors, the Devils Lake Neighborhood Association Board of Directors, on behalf of our membership, would like to nominate Bud DLWID posthumously for this year's Lake Stewart Award. As most of you know, Bud, the mayor of Sandpoint, was a key participant in the early years of paddle and a key player involved in the introduction of grass carp into the lake and the forming of the Devils Lake Water Improvement District for that purpose. We could not ask for a more qualified or deserving recipient of this year's award. Thank you for all your service to Devils Lake and its stakeholders. Sincerely, Mark Christie, President, Devils Lake Neighborhood Association.
For those of you who don't know, Bud lived on Sandpoint Loop for many years and died recently after a long, drawn-out illness. And when I first heard about Bud passing away, I know I met Bud several times as I walked the loop, and he was always very congenial. And I know that he did a lot for getting us to where we are today. When I first heard about putting Bud forward for the Lake Stewart Award, I felt like we should do more than that. And so my recommendation not only would be that we give Bud this year's Lake Stewart Award, but we changed the name of the award to the Bud DLWID Lake Stewart Award. I think that way we can remember him appropriately for not only today and what he's done, but the foundation of where we're headed. And so that would be my recommendation.
And where we came from.
Yeah.
Also, so. Yeah, I'd make a motion that we go ahead and change the name from the Lake Stewart and make it a memorial, not a memorial, I'm sorry, but with Bud's name in there as a model of a real Lake Stewart and what they can do and what they have done. So I think that's fitting for that award.
I agree.
I agree.
Good
Great.
idea.
We'll have Josh change that. There's not just Bud, but there's many people who really formed this board and the founding organization of Paddle, and have done a lot to bring it from a lake of overgrown weeds and such to where we are today. And the decisions they made really have given us the ability to do things like the aeration system that we are currently in the process of wanting to put in the lake. And so just the financial things that they've done of saving money have given us the ability to do that. And so I really appreciate everything that those previous boards have done and the forethought and the decisions that they've made, because it's brought us to where we can do some things today. So I'd say thank you to them.
Yeah.
Great. Next, storage unit.
You want to give a little background, and then I'll let you know my research.
The board has been, we have rented a storage unit at considerable cost over the course of the years, and the storage unit was used for placing our boat under cover, as well as it was a place where a lot of miscellaneous stuff was stored. And
Mostly junk.
mostly junk. It was a dumping spot. And what was it, a week ago? Was it a
2
week?
weeks ago,
2 weeks,
Monday.
2 weeks ago, Monday. Josh and Larry and I don't remember who, and who? Julie. There were 3 people took on the task of cleaning it out. And they ended up finding a whole bunch of stuff that was moldy and unusable, as well as things that should be stored and archived. The various pictures of things from the past and events. And anyhow, they got it all cleaned up and stuff thrown away and stuff stored and or at least brought into the office in boxes. And Larry ended up with a bunch of pictures, and I looked through some of the pictures. I haven't looked through all of them, but they were something that should be kept. But we now have a storage unit that is expensive, and I think we ought to look for something that we don't put a bunch of junk in, and it should be a lot
So
cheaper.
essentially, we're looking for a place to store the boat,
Exactly, right.
which
And-
we have some options.
We do. We have lots of options. There's always options.
Uh-huh. So
I
anyhow,
had offered one of our spots up at our shop for a rental, and just requires a cover for the boat, and Josh would have access to it whenever he needed it.
okay. Yeah, I heard that you had made that available, which was good. Thank you.
And I called around to other RV storage places and got prices anywhere from, the cheapest was $60 up to $150 a month for boat/RV storage.
Okay.
And some of them were covered and some of them were not.
Okay. So we've got a
So
range.
currently, yeah, I think our space was $40 a month with discounted
All right.
fees.
Okay. Now, so does everyone agree we need to find something cheaper? I think that the current storage was somewhere close to $2,000 a year. That it had climbed progressively, and so
Wasn't there something about another increase this year? as
right.
well?
And I think it came up to about $2,000 a year. It's pretty close to that, and so we can limit our expenses quite a bit by either looking at, sounds like Tina, the low of 60, high of 150, or Bill has offered $40 a month. And so I think we ought to, and currently the boat has stayed where it's at. I asked Josh to leave it there until we made a decision as to what we wanted to do with that.
Well,
And
we have
so-
to give 30 days notice anyhow, I'm
Right.
presuming.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but we're on a month-to-month basis, so I think we have it through the end of this month. Do you know, Bill?
I am not quite sure that their rental term dates or whatever. But one thing I wanted to mention, though, is that now that we are going to an outside situation, I recommend that we either remove the motor when it comes out for the winter and put it back on when summer comes, rather than have the motor sit in the weather throughout the winter.
Do you have a place to store the motor inside?
Yeah. So that wouldn't be an issue there, but I just wanted to put it on the record that
Okay.
we should pay attention to that instead of just letting it sit outside unprotected when it could be.
Yeah, I don't think the boat was used extensively last year,
I think we use Larry's boat.
and mostly Larry, and we appreciate that, Larry.
And then,
And Mark-
sorry.
Excuse me, and I was going to say, I know the previous year, it had set for a long time, and Mark Blair had winterized it, so it was winterized. So the period that it set was extensive, and
Yeah, it needs the annual maintenance.
Right.
So, and also we have the option with Noel, so where he would rent us or give us space for the testing season.
Right,
Or if Josh needed a project or something, he can park it there anytime.
right. Yeah, I appreciate that from Noel, too.
Yeah. So that's our in-water storage.
Right.
Yeah, I know Noel last year, he graciously just let us keep the boat there for no charge at all, so appreciate that.
That was nice.
And he was appreciative of us letting the Airstream sit in his moorage for
Good.
the
All right,
part of
good.
the summer.
Well, I would, one of the things that we need to be careful of, and I've talked with various board members about this, is that if we do something with a board member, we want to make sure that there's no conflict of interest. And so, I would recommend that we, since we've seen a variety of different prices, that we change from our current storage situation to maybe do and take Bill up on his storage situation. It's locked, it's secure, it's, the only thing it is, it's, if we put the motor inside, then we've protected that too, and so I think we've accomplished what we need to. And so I think that we ought to move the boat to Bill's storage. If
I agree.
agree, and then you need to omit yourself from this and make sure that there's no conflict of interest, but for $40 a month, that's quite a savings. We appreciate your generosity and doing that. So with that, if there's no further discussion on the board, I'll direct Josh to move at the earliest convenience, and we'll limit our amount that we spend monthly for boat storage.
Great.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right, very good. Yes. All right. Oh, okay. And I know that when we have comments from the audience, people at home can't hear that, but it was nice that North Lincoln Sanitary provided the dumpster. I guess it was full.
I'm like, how big a dumpster are you talking? He's like, big. So we brought a big one.
So, thank you, North
Sure.
Lincoln Sanitary. Appreciate it.
I was happy I wasn't the one filling it.
All right. Next on our agenda is discussion of fireworks. In previous discussions at the beginning of the year, we've talked about, I think is this the third or fourth year? Fourth year.
This will be the fourth.
Fourth year. Devils Lake Neighborhood Association has collected money to put on 4th of July fireworks. This year it's July 3rd, and they have been very successful the previous 3 years. I think we've brought out hundreds of boats at night watching the fireworks, and my recommendation in July of last year, after hearing and talking about the success of the fireworks, is that I believe that it's an important, it would be an important thing to do, is to have this board donate money to help support that. Currently, all the monies raised are those individuals, and I don't think it would be against anything that we do to not support that. And so I'd like to hear from anybody else. I think that we can support that. I think they've raised money for this year, but
I think
for the
they have too.
for our next for the next year's budget, because Josh is in the process of developing that, is to have a budgetary line item that we donate.
Do we have like don't we have like a events line item, like that we paid for, like the?
I don't have the budget setting in
I don't
front of
either,
me.
and I thought maybe.
Like the revival type account?
Yeah, like
Right.
money that, I mean, because I would think it could come right out of, events.
I honestly don't have the budget setting.
I don't know if all of our,
We've changed the budget over time, and so I just think that we should direct Josh. And here we are in the process of putting together the budget. Well, I don't know if it's in the public relations aspect of it.
Yeah.
Where, last year's budgetary line item was $11,000. But to highlight that as what we should donate. And
That's a lot of fireworks.
And an actual dollar amount. I don't think we should support it extensively, not to take care of the whole thing, but I think it's certainly a worthy event that we can support financially.
for sure.
And so, I personally, I don't know what other people are thinking. What does it take, about $10,000 or $12,000?
I think last year was 12.5.
And I know that in Memorial Day weekend, Steve Brown is going to hold another fundraiser on the barge at his property in order to fund the coming year, the coming year's one. But
Yeah, they're trying to raise ahead of time so that we don't end up behind the 8 ball and not, because you have to book them in December.
Right.
To get the date that you want.
I don't know about other board members. I'm thinking, if we were to donate and commit to them on a budgetary line item of $1,000 to $2,000, I don't think that's a portion of what they're trying to raise, and I don't think that's too much.
Yeah, I was thinking 2,500, so that's right in that ballpark. I'm fine with whatever everybody else feels comfortable with.
Anybody?
I think $2,000 sounds good.
I'm good with that as well, other than, I don't know if I should abstain from that just for the participation level that I participate in.
You don't get paid. I mean, we all volunteer for it under some,
Okay. Well, if
So
that
there's
is
so-
appropriate, then yeah, I'd be in favor of that. It's a big help, and it's done nothing but get bigger and draw more attention to the fact that, yeah, maybe it will go somewhere if we have more participation and.
well, and if we can get this deed restriction removed at Regatta Grounds, I can envision it being a 2-day thing where we have music and food and fireworks and so, which brings me to the topic of asking the VCB for funds for it too, because they actually are advertising it now with their city 4th of July weekend stuff. So I don't think that they should ride on the backs of the residents around the lake that are paying for it right now, and our small contribution in next year. And I know that it's not just residents on the lake, but I would say the majority of the money is the people that live on the lake pay for that just because we love it.
So am I not catching something, but didn't Miles receive some funds from the VCB towards the fireworks, or was that for something different?
Not to my knowledge.
I think he was going after funds for
Devil's Lake Dash.
a fishing.
Oh, okay, okay.
Like
That's right.
just a second. I think it was for some kind of a fishing derby that he was doing, and he hasn't been able to get that all together yet. So.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, and Devil's Lake Dash pulled out because the city was not willing to contribute any funds towards it.
Right.
So I know that was a disappointment to Miles as well. Do you want to come up and to the mic?
Person wants to talk?
Sorry. I'll ask you instead of making your husband ask you.
Well, I was doing my simple math and learned that you're saving $1,400 a month, $1,440, by moving the boat.
Not
Oh, yeah.
not 1,400, 140.
Oh, really? $40 times?
So it's $2,000 a year.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought, $2,000 a year, and how much is it now? I thought you said $160 a month is what you were paying. And you've cut it down to $40 a month.
Right.
So you're saving some money.
Right.
So however much that is, you can donate that towards fireworks.
Right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Tina.
Cute boy just walked in.
Okay. Thank you.
I think the storage unit is
Um,
considerably more.
It was over $200 a month.
I know it was getting up there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So the one question I would have is if we can use the funds out of this public relations line item, and if that $11,000 is already earmarked for something else, or if that is just a number that we've carried over from when we did do the Devil's Lake revival or something. So
I'm not honest.
I would want to double check that with our treasurer and
Yeah.
or bookkeeper before we
revisit
approve
this.
anything tonight. Is that all right?
Pardon me?
Before we approve any
Okay.
funds
Yeah,
tonight,
that's
can we,
fine.
can we double check that?
Yes.
Okay. And I will call Teresa and ask her and double check with Steve as well.
Yeah, so we'll bring that up next time, but I think it's good to think about, $2,000 sounds like an adequate amount that supports what we see as a positive thing for the lake.
Well, the whole community.
Yes. And then afterwards, I know that our events committee or our special projects committee, they do a cleanup.
Right.
Very good. All right. Good. All right, I think that concludes our new business.
I have one inclusion on new business,
Okay.
and that would be the Lincoln County Marine Sheriff. Been in contact with those people, and we're working on dates, possibly for the next month's special projects meeting date, to see if they can come and give us some tips on water safety and water etiquette during the program.
Great.
And they were really positive on sending people or sending their officer up here to be involved in interacting with our committee and whoever public wants to show up if they have questions or if they want to have a boat inspection. That'd be the time to
Oh,
make plans
cool.
for that as well.
Very good. Thanks, Bill. Any other new business?
I have a couple of things, a little bit of old business maybe. I contacted Rose Hill Designs, who does all the logo work for our trucks, and her and Josh have now connected to put logos on our new district pickup truck. So that will be identifiable when Josh is not just in town, but when he's in events, just to give us a little bit more.
Great. Yeah, it's
We're out
we've
there.
had the truck since October, I
Right.
think. And so we don't have anything but our
I met with
governmental license plate on it. It'd be nice
Right.
to have our.
And I
logo
met
on
with
it.
Debbie today. She's extremely busy, and we have several new pieces of equipment that are big projects, but she is on it.
So what are we looking for as far as IDs? Is it, we want to do our logo on the door, or is it a tailgate
We're
sticker?
fully wrapping the truck. It's a full vinyl wrap. No, just kidding.
Window tint?
I think
So is it-
just our logos on the doors is what I was envisioning, and maybe, like on the tailgate, like our website or something.
Oh.
I mean, just something that identifies it as who Josh is, and that's our vehicle.
Right.
I'm not particular about.
Is there anybody in town? Nobody here does that?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
oh, is
Debbie
there?
Hoffman.
Oh, okay.
That does all of our trucks.
Okay.
She's going to do it for him, I think. And then the only other thing I wanted to bring up was, just for people watching, was kind of a storm update after the high surf. Obviously, everybody knows that we had high surf. The river was completely plugged up. I know that all of us were probably on the phone with Josh the night before, ready to take action on the west. So the city of Lincoln City holds a permit currently for the west side of the dam to the ocean to dredge that on an emergency basis. The permit that we've been trying to obtain for the last 2 years, which is kind of on hold but not dead, is to dredge the east side of the dam on on an emergency basis, to get it done, and then to be able to do it on an emergency basis, the same as the west side of the dam. So Lila Bradley saw that it was plugged. K&E Excavating is the one doing the undergrounding project there, and everybody's probably seen, you know, how tore up D River Wayside is. They had their equipment sitting right there in Kylo's parking lot, went down with their excavator, had it dug out before 8 o'clock. I mean, we were down there by 8:30 and it was done.
Yeah, they start at 7.
So that was terrific. They sent us a bill, I think,
It was
for
just over $1,500.
so anyhow, that was great. Fast work, and the river started flowing, and it's amazing. You get a little bit of water moving, and pretty soon it's all gone. So we ended up with a few more logs, I think, on the east side out of that. I mean, I don't inventory the logs, but just visually looking at it.
Yeah, Vivian's got torn up a little bit more.
Yeah.
as
So,
well.
anyhow, I think that event just re-solidifies one of the reasons why we want to have that ability on the east side of the dam. So, we, you know, are still moving forward with that. And then, oh, I have a question about, I thought that the D River Bridge work was supposed to start in December.
They're, no, I think they're
Rumor
behind.
of it.
I thought
Well,
they
we were
s-
notified of it.
I thought it was. I thought both D River and Schooner Creek bridges were supposed to start work.
At night?
I thought all during the night, beginning in December or January, and to date I haven't.
Has
seen
anybody
anything.
heard anything of why it's waylaid?
They're all done. They work at night.
No.
Just kidding. No, I don't know. I haven't heard.
Okay.
Don't know the answer to that.
I didn't know if we had been notified of a change or anything that I didn't see. Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
I did know that there was one delay because K&E was boring under the highway and coming up on that side. That may be one of their postponements because the state, you know, the way they do it. And they have to, I think they have to either cover the river or prevent any debris from going into the river during the in-water work period, which ends February 15th, but they may be exempt. I don't know.
Okay. That's all I have.
Any other non-agenda items from the board? Additional comments from citizens that are present on agenda or non-agenda items? Anybody? Nobody?
Just one more thing.
Oh, okay.
Our new Lake Steward person, I just wanted to let everybody know that he's got one of the 2 original A-frames, Sears A-frames that were put on Devil's Lake. And Bud's particular A-frame was the A-frame that was at the mouth of the D River. So just in case anybody didn't know that.
That your previous employer
Moved.
moved
Yes.
through the lake on a big
Floated
storm
to that
day.
here on New Year's Day, many years ago. He told me the story when I
Oh,
was
yeah.
by.
Had to be that day.
A little bit of history there.
So, yeah.
Yeah, do we have any
Bud.
pictures of that in the storage unit?
I don't know.
That would be awesome.
Apparently not. All right. Any other further board comments or comments from the audience? Well,
Bill.
thank.
If you want to see a picture of it, you can go to Jim Drayton's office.
Okay.
I know I've seen pictures there.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you all for coming tonight, and meeting is adjourned.
We don't need no stinking Josh.